So we did it again. Yesterday I said a few things, I think. Waiting on market structures, the post I sent out. And prior to that, what was written here is don't counter trend trade and wait for a confirmed turning point. So for anyone who went short and against my advice, sorry, not sorry for your loss. But there are rules that we follow to avoid losses. And I hope that you get to learn them for yourself if you don't know them already. Or if you do know them, this is obviously constant reminders on how to apply the strategy in live market conditions so that you're at the top of your game. All right. So now that we have confirmed market direction, or confirmed turning point for market structure, rather, we're going to put down the tools. Okay. What gives us the idea that we had a confirmed turning point? Well, from a market structure perspective, we are now within the right range for the first low of the cycle to form. The time forecast, I will just kind of provide for you. You don't necessarily need to work that out for yourselves too much. And then the oscillator is quite a big talking point because that's exactly where the confirmation kind of was solidified. So if you look at the oscillator on its own, you can see there's a switch back here. Now, even though that's a convincing place for a turning point to happen because of that switch, this kind of highlights the reason why you don't trust oscillators alone to be your trading strategy. Okay, the only thing it's really good for is, it's not the only thing, so I should be more careful with my words, but the main thing it's good for is to confirm a turning point, but that's as good as it gets. So if you've ever traded with a bot or an EA that is using the moving averages, then you'll know what losses look like because it's kind of pointless, and here's another illustration as to why. And just on that note, the oscillator that we do use is vetted and one of the best there are out there. So it's not like a weak oscillator. This is one of the best options. But you'll see over here, if you were naughty and you went counter trend, then you would have been stopped out by this wick over here. Again, not advised to just rely on oscillators and moving averages. So I'm going to move this across to have a look at what's happening for this potential turning point. And if I highlight the switch that's happening over there, you'll see that there is some market movement that is going to the upside. All right, so that's the oscillator we've covered. Price projection, we'll use scaling to give us our target, and our support and resistance, we'll see what that looks like as I build this for you. Okay, so this is now the recent high, the first high of the cycle. And what I'm going to do is just set it up real quick. So I'm going to connect that high to this low. I really don't like the structure that people are getting given. So there's always a deeper discussion to everything when it comes to markets. What I'm talking about here is that maybe on the Binance perpetual future contract, which is mostly what people use for leverage trading, that there is this kind of late pump, late like pump and then dump to that, instead of something that's more responsible. For example, decent looking market structure where it should be from there to there. Because what I'm saying is like Onyx and Bittrex and the other available providers might not have had this appear in their order book. However, there is this uniformity across the exchanges that kind of needs to happen. So this should be showing up everywhere. If it only happens in Binance, that makes it very difficult to kind of keep a consistent trading setup across all the exchanges. So what I'm saying is that when you select your markets, you build a relationship with them. It's this back and forth of its nuances and its quirks and its shortfalls, and that's so what looks right is to have that high over there because that coincides with the switch neatly, and then the switch over here forms quite nice and neatly over there, but in essence it's not the truth. Okay, and we got to work on truth. So for this particular next trade, we got to keep that in the back of our mind that this might be just one heavy hander or a blimp in the Binance system per se. But because we're charting in Binance, we got to go with what Binance offers us. All right. Even if we want it to be different, we have to listen to what the market is offering us and what the offerings offering us, including the chosen tool set and markets and technology that we trade with. Okay, so many people use Binance. It's perpetual futures is there because a lot of people are using leverage trading and not spot trading, and it is what it is. I think a good note though, however, is that yesterday when I put the structure in, I didn't say that this was a confirmed turning point. I just said waiting on confirmed turning point and waiting on market structure. So with the power of the MTOP strategy, I have power and patience. And we could have just said that that's the confirmed 20 points and just jumped the gun. But if anyone wants to catch a very quick 1:1 risk reward ratio trade and close over there, then they would have been stopped out first. And again, that's the reason why we don't counter trend trade. And this is why we wait for correct market structure. And once again, after many years of trial and error, I eventually came to the understanding of how to be patient and what to look for when I get patient. So, in other words, market structure, time forecast, oscillator price, and support and resistance. Okay, so let's now confirm this 20 points, even though our first hint over here in terms of the switch and oscillator has provided that information for us. And just with my naked eye, I can see that there is a climb along a support line that isn't down yet, but you'll see what happens when I do put it down. And we can also see if we through my naked eye, if I look backwards, the interactions in which where these placements are look pretty good. So let's scale this correctly to get it right. We have a look at the previous transition length. We then connect this to the bottom, the recent low, and then we use that as our floor or our base and bring it up. And now you'll start to see a story being told. So what I'm going to do here is connect this line, just given as to where the kill zone story has formed. So what I'm talking about is just the information provided to us by the kill zone, saying that it's kind of being rejected there, but also regained a bit of momentum. At that point, I'm just going to unlock this for a second, just dabble with some options to see if we got absolute connection. There we go. That looks a lot neater. I want it as snug as possible because there's a lot of information that's provided to us when that's the case. And trying to manage my perfectionist side, like sometimes you don't always have to have perfect, you can have good enough. And you'll notice that when you do daily trades and daily setups, good enough becomes okay because you've got enough experience behind you to see what's truly happening. But because I'm showing you guys, I want to get it as good as possible. All right, so to confirm this turning point, what I also want to do, let me just see if it's available here, reverse. I just want to see the story prior to where we got. There's also interactions if I use my naked eye to continue that around instead of putting additional tools down like the Gann circles to see their interactions. But just back here, I want to see where it connects. So it's a nice little interaction right there. There's a bit of dance and move along over here. It jumped literally off of this line into what would be a good, I wonder if I can duplicate it, copy, paste. And now I'm just going to put it on top of that, flip it backwards, and then join it up again. This is just over the top stuff. Again, you don't have to have perfect, but this is the kind of thing that I do just to ensure we've got confirmed turning points, which is vital to trading and to charting and to forecasting and so forth. So we got some good interaction along those bars. We've also got the kill zone story forming quite nicely. Even where this stopped, if you can see up here, maybe I can zoom in for some, it actually stopped on an arc. Okay, so the market looks random until you use the correct tools, and it just stopped over here. Again, I'm not aiming for perfect. I'm just aiming for good enough. But if I spend time refining it, you'll see what I'm talking about even more so. But that's where it stopped. And just the way it climbed was quite nice. I think if I work with the scaling correctly from what was, I could actually bring it into something that's a bit more telling to what happens next. So I'm looking for absolute snug fit. And of course, this is unique to me. I haven't seen any other trader in my course of trading come to this understanding. It's quite brilliant once you see it at play. All right, so that's a good way for scaling to be, which means I'm actually going to match the scaling to the build up to where we are. And that is going to help us see what's happening. So that it stops at the kill zone instead of it being within the kill zone, for example. So I'm going to just use this example today of how we can set scaling. Normally I scale it to the previous length of transition, but because there was this kind of weird wick over here, it might be slightly off. So I'm just going to use the previous price information to scale for today. And then we can build it outwards accordingly. So I'll keep it conservative just for the record, and then if it does have more energy, then I'll start adding to it. Let's get rid of that. Bring the oscillator back. I'll say that, however, I see a lot of space. Looking at market structure, there's a lot of space for it to cover. So I'm actually going to go back to my original configuration. Just line up the scaling with the information provided. Again, might not be perfect, but that's why we've got the higher time frame and also the rule of trading in trend at our side. Okay, so where should we then block off? Well, my first attempt is going to be, I'd say, somewhere from there. Okay, so it's going to pass this space. And then my next little non-probability area, so the area where it's not going to form the high, is going to be there. Okay, so it's got to be above the height of this box and in front of this box over here is where the next high will be. And that's it for today, guys. No changes over here. I set this up yesterday, which was, I don't even know, the 27th of March, saying that the price is going to go into this direction. I did come along this down along this arc, and then started to climb again. I guess the micro adjustment I can make, because I am a bit of a perfectionist, is just to kind of link it up so it's a bit more solid. I can tell over there that's resisting well, that's climbing well, stopped over there nicely, and just a little dance along that band, and it's going to start launching off from this point upwards again. Let's have before I jump off, I'm just going to have a quick look to see who is part of the team now. Ren45, thanks for the boost, buddy. Tolok VK, thanks for the boost, buddy. Thanks again for the other boosts as well. And thanks, Rum Kibel, for the boosting and the comments. Thanks, you're super welcome. And all the other boosts. Yeah, I got Dozes, Dire Wolfie, just Tyrex, Mick Roland, and so on. How's the crown trade? Virtual funds. Virtual funds is a clever name. Cool, guys. That's it for today. See you guys tomorrow. Ciao for now.